One day, the sage Markandeya came to visit the Pandavas, and Yudhishthira, thoughtful as ever, spoke of the wonder of women's patience and devotion. What greater wonder is there, he said, than a woman who carries a child dearer than her own life, brings it into the world through pain, and then thinks of nothing but its happiness? Who forgives and goes on loving even a cruel husband who neglects and mistreats her? How strange, how remarkable that is. Markandeya answered with a sacred story. There was once a Brahman named Kausika, he said, who kept his vows of chastity and discipline with great steadfastness. He was a genuinely holy man, devout, learned, self-controlled. But he had never learned the one lesson this story exists to teach, and he was about to learn it the hard way. One day, Kaushika sat beneath a tree, deep in reciting the Vedas, when a crane perched above let its droppings fall on his head. He looked up at the bird with a flash of pure anger. And the anger of a man of great austerity is a dangerous thing. His furious glance struck the crane dead, and it fell from the branch to the ground at his feet. And at once Kaushika was stricken with regret, staring at the small dead thing his rage had killed. Here the epic pauses on a strange mercy. How frightful it would be if every hasty, angry wish took effect the instant we made it. How much we would have to repent. It is our good fortune that wishes need outward means to come true. That gap is what saves us, most days, from our own worst moments. Kaushika grieved that a single moment's anger had killed an innocent creature. But grieving is not the same as changing, and he had not yet truly learned. Some time later, he went out, as usual, to beg his alms, and stopped at the door of a house to wait for his dole. And there, without knowing it, he walked into his real lesson. The housewife was scouring her cooking pots when he arrived, and he waited, expecting her to attend to him when her work was done. But before she finished, her husband came home, tired and hungry, and she turned at once to him, washing his feet, drying them, serving his meal. Absorbed in her husband's care, she seemed to forget the Brahman waiting at her door. Only when her husband was fed and cared for did she come out with alms to the waiting mendicant. "I am sorry to have kept you so long," she said. "Pardon me." It was a gentle, sincere apology. And Kaushika, the holy man who had just learned nothing at all from a dead crane, met it with the same old anger. "Lady," he said, burning, "you have made me wait a very long time. Such indifference is not fair." "Forgive me, best of Brahmins," she answered. "I was serving my husband, and that is why I was delayed." "It is right to serve a husband," Kaushika retorted, "but a Brahman too should not be disregarded. You seem an arrogant woman." He was scolding a dutiful wife for the crime of doing her duty. And then the housewife said the words that named this whole tale. "Do not be angry with me," she said quietly. "I kept you waiting only because I was serving my husband. And know this, I am no crane, to be killed by a violent thought. Your rage can do no harm to a woman devoted to her husband's service." Kaushika stood thunderstruck. How could she possibly know about the crane? She was not finished. "Great one," she said, "you do not know the secret of duty, and you do not know that anger is the greatest enemy that lives inside a man. Forgive my delay. But if you would truly learn how to live, go to Mithila and be taught the secret of the good life by one Dharmavyadha who lives in that city." A housewife was sending a proud Brahman to school, and Kaushika, to his credit, was humbled rather than offended. "I deserve your just rebuke, and it will do me good," he said. "May all good attend you." And he set out for Mithila, a learned Brahman taking correction from a housewife, and grateful for it. It is the mark of a soul that can still grow, to bow to a truth from an unexpected mouth. In Mithila, Kausika went looking for Dharmavyadha, expecting, of course, some lonely hermitage far from the noise of common life. For where else would a great teacher of Dharma be found? He walked the city's fine roads, past beautiful houses and gardens, following the directions he had been given toward the home of the sage. And the directions led him to a butcher's shop. There, in a butcher's stall, a man stood selling meat. And this, Kaushika learned to his amazement, was Dharmavyadha, the teacher he had crossed a country to find. The Brahman was shocked beyond measure and stood back at a distance in disgust. A butcher, a dealer in dead flesh, a man of the lowest trade. How could this be the sage of the good life? But before Kaushika could speak, the butcher rose from his seat, came straight to him, and greeted him warmly. "Revered sir, are you well? Did that chaste Brahman lady send you to me?" Kaushika stood stupefied. The man knew everything, had been expecting him. "I know why you have come," said Dharmavyadha gently. "Come, let us go to my home." And the disgusted Brahman followed the butcher, his certainties beginning to crack. At the butcher's house, Kaushika found a happy family and was struck to the heart by the devotion with which Dharmavyadha served his aged parents. Tending them with a love and reverence the learned Brahman had never troubled to show his own. Here was a man of the despised trade living, quietly and daily. The very Dharmathe Brahman had only read about. Then Dharmavyadha taught him of Dharma, of a man's calling, of duty. He did not apologize for his trade. He explained that a man reaches perfection not by the grandeur of his work, but by the sincerity and faithfulness he brings to whatever work has fallen to his lot. Kaushika, the proud Brahman, sat at the feet of a butcher and learned. For this is the same truth the Gita teaches. A man reaches perfection by the honest pursuit of whatever calling falls to him in life. And that honest work is itself a worship of the God who made and pervades all things. It matters not whether the work is high or low in the eyes of the world, a butcher's stall or a Brahman's study. What matters is the spirit of faithfulness a man brings to it. And there is a deliberate beauty in how Vyas built this story. He made a learned Brahman who did not know this truth learn it from a butcher who lived it in a humble and despised life that turned out to be holier than the scholars. The lowest trade lived rightly, outshone the highest learning, lived carelessly. It is a lesson aimed straight at every kind of pride, changed by all he had seen and heard. Kaushika went home and did the plainest, most important thing his new wisdom demanded. He began to tend his own aged parents, a duty he had rather neglected before, too busy with his woes and his learning to notice the people who most needed his care. Sometimes, enlightenment looks exactly like coming home and washing your father's feet. So Markandeya finished, and the lesson settled over the Pandavas in their forest. True worship is not fine words or lonely penance, but the faithful, loving performance of whatever duty life has placed in your hands. A wife's service, a butcher's trade, a son's care for his parents. Do your own work sincerely, and you worship God. It was wisdom the exiled Pandavas, doing the hard daily work of their own difficult lot, were well placed to take to heart.